Hey YouTube, I've been putting this video off for a while, and I want to get straight into it now. What I want to speak to you guys about today is humans attempt to be rational, and no matter how much we try, we can no longer or we can never truly be rational beings. And I spent, past couple weeks researching what really makes us irrational, mostly just consulting some of my friends and thinking about these things to myself and searching things up based on the observations I make on the world. So, to get me started on what got me thinking about why humans are irrational has to do with what's going on in politics lately. And that has to do with, frankly, the fact that people almost seem to blindly follow certain politicians or certain leaders, Trump, Harris, whatever it may be. And it seems that when I was in an argument with someone about, politics, that they basically find some sort of way to uh, dismiss anything negative said about their candidate, and they wholly and completely support anything positive about their candidate. And it's very irrational. And it got me thinking more and more. And I started thinking to myself about like these hypotheticals. And one of the big questions I asked myself was, let's say this: imagine if scientists were to all come together, like the best scientists published in the best medical journal, came together and they'd be like, "Hey, we found the missing link in preventative medicine, and what's missing in all of our diets, and it's eating bugs." Right? And so I want you to think about this. Maybe close your eyes. I'll say it again. Close your eyes right now and think about this. All the scientists came together. You're reading. You open up a magazine and you're really excited to read it. You're like, man, I wonder what's gonna help me improve my health. And it says the missing link is bugs. Now, pay attention. You can open your eyes, I guess. Pay attention to the visceral reaction you feel, and if you would feel inclined or motivated to continue even reading this paper or giving it the time of day. Most of us wouldn't. Why? Because this invokes such a gut reaction that if I were to ask you why you feel this, you can't tell me why. It just feels disgusting. The idea of it is disgusting. We don't logically come to the conclusion that this is wrong. We just simply feel it's wrong. This is irrational. And this is just one example. But I want to use this to highlight the fact that on a daily basis, many, I would say a majority, 90 something percent of the judgments we make on things are irrational and are not rooted in an objective viewing on science, are on having unbiased opinions, and they're rooted in simply what makes us feel good. Now, I have to ask myself, why are we like this? A, so getting the first part of this now, is it seems that humans oftentimes find their answer first and then find supporting evidence that further supports their answer, supports why they think what they think. Think about this. In science, oftentimes we're going to use inductive and deductive reasoning. We're going to observe things and we're going to posit a question. We posit the question and then we go do our research on that. However, it seems like we're doing the opposite. We have our question and then we generate our answer based off, what seems good, and then we find answers to support it. And unfortunately, this is slowly plaguing science. Researchers don't know what to do with null results, and they simply use null results in favor of their experiments. And because of the way NIH gives out grants, researchers are basically kind of forced to not publish things that don't make them look good, or that don't give them the ability to have access to further funding. And so irrationality in and of itself is plaguing science. So you could also just say that all science is BS, that this paper is BS and it's funded by some nefarious organization. And then you get into conspiracy theories and things like that, where you got people saying fluoride is, by the CIA meant to make us dumber, and calcify our pineal gland, and microplastics are from China, or, people say, um, adrenochrome, what all these things, right? Like these are irrational, but I can understand the people who talk about this because even science is not being plagued by this, and that's not how things are supposed to be. And so, if science is supposed to, ask a question first, then do data gathering, and then come to the conclusion, and we're not doing that, then there's a big problem. But this problem has been around for the entirety of human history. And I can prove this by saying that think about this. This information I got from my friend, so this is not original. If you think about where the prefrontal cortex is, like where it deals with critical thinking, right? The mesocortical pathways. These are all like in the cortex. Cortex literally means outer layer, I think in Latin or Greek or some shit, right? And the intuitive parts of our brain, right? Pons, the brainstem, the mesolimbic pathways, right? The reptile brain that people like to talk about are older, right? This is why it's so hard to, put off eating a chocolate bar, which is like a super normal stimulus for to, instead study or read a book because, that requires a bigger time investment. And these aren't things that we traditionally had early on in human history, right? Like books that, or let's say even just like studying, right? Studying has been around for like what? Like, I don't know, like let's say studying for the SAT. It's been around for the past 100 years, right? Humans have been around for like 300 something thousand years. This is such a small infinitesimal like fraction that like we haven't evolved for this. What I mean to say is that the logical and critical thinking parts of our brain are so much newer. And so they're going to be less relied upon. They're quick to fatigue, and they're still kind of going through their patches. Like when you make a new game and it's in beta form, or what is it called? It's like it needs updates. I forgot what it's called, beta form or something like that. Um, and so our prefrontal cortex is very new, but the intuitive parts of our brain are very old. This is where people say trust your gut feeling. And to kind of divulge from the original topic, I honestly think this frankly has something to do with the enteric nervous system. Like our gut bacteria might have something to do with this, or it's just this feeling we have. And I think that we're like this because this feeling we have got us a long way. Like for majority of human history, we didn't need to critically analyze things. We could simply just use the method that worked like 80% of the time, which is like intuiting things and just like being like, oh yeah, what seems right? And we fall into traps of representative heuristics, confirmation bias, availability heuristics. Now, while these aren't necessarily always wrong, they have logical fallacies. And I'll bring this point up right now. If you've read the book Thinking Fast, Thinking Slow, you're probably, by Daniel Kahneman, may God rest his soul, you're probably really familiar with the idea, this Linda question. So I'll say it out to you right now. Maybe close your eyes. It'll probably help you think about this. So I'm going to get real close to the mic so you can hear me. So imagine this. Linda is a 31-year-old woman. She works in a bank, and she's a part of the feminist movement. She studied women's gender studies in college. She's a vegan, and she is, I think I already messed it up. She is an advocate of like animal lives and things like that. Um, yeah, I messed it up. And then there's the same thing. So there's a description of her. Now you have two options. A, Linda is a bank teller, or Linda is a feminist bank teller, or bank teller involved in the feminist movement. Pick your answer. Three, two, one. Majority of you guys, if you guys aren't familiar with it, probably picked B. I think I may have messed up the description when I said it, but you pick B because your brain is kind of filling in the gaps of knowledge of what is there. This is how writing oftentimes happens, right? This is how flirting works. Basically, you're filling in the gaps and you're kind of intuiting these kinds of responses to let the person himself come to his answer. Because if I were to tell you this, you wouldn't believe it. But if I set up a situation that makes it easier for you to intuit it, I'm basically making the most propitious situation for you to come to your own answer. And your brain justifies it. Your brain justifies the own answer your system one, right, tells to yourself. And the thing is that it's more likely for Linda to, in real life to be a bank teller than to be a feminist bank teller because you're adding a secondary condition that limits the amount of people. Because not every bank teller is a feminist. There are some bank tellers, but there's more bank tellers than feminist bank tellers. If you get what I'm saying. If you guys don't entirely understand this, I suggest you search up the Linda question online. So now what I'm saying is majority of us pick B. In real life, though, like IRL, Linda is probably going to be a feminist bank teller, and this is the point I'm making. Like, making these quick judgments are essential to humans. Think about this. Like, we can determine if someone is attractive within zero point 0.3 seconds or like 3 milliseconds or something like that. Why? Because we need to be able to quickly make judgments on people. Even better examples, we can determine if someone's threatening, right? If you're walking on the street, you're quickly analyzing people and just making very, very quick judgments, right? If you may be racist, if someone is of dark skin, if someone, even if you're not racist, if someone's wearing a hoodie and they look shady and they got their hands in their pockets, or maybe if you see some sharp object that's protruding out of their pocket, you're maybe going to want to go the other way, right? We did this because it was evolutionarily advantageous to us. We need to quickly distinguish from friend from foe. And the people who couldn't, people who overanalyze things, like, I'm putting this out there. I'm not like I'm not anti-autistic or I'm not against people who are autistic. I have autistic friends, but this is probably why autism is not very prevalent today. Is because the overanalyzers, people who are extremely rational, probably took too long and ended up getting killed. And I asked the same question to my extremely intelligent autistic friends, and they gave me an answer that was kind of what I expected of them. They basically were saying that, like, yes, all humans, we should be more rational. It's important. I try so hard not to be irrational in my life and to critically analyze everything. And while this is excellent today, oftentimes and every day, it slows you down, right? Like, it's kind of like in sports. When I watch tennis, or like if I were to watch any sport, I could slow things down and mathematically like take the sine of an angle, right? And be like the velocity, the ball was coming at this velocity, and he had to put this many newtons of force into there, and be like in awe of how quickly he responded to the target, and how did he know that the ball should be placed there, right? We could break things down, and this would take time. This is what chess is kind of like, right? The smartest people are chess players, because you have more time to critically think about these things and you have a bigger working memory capacity. But it's something like tennis, even faster, boxing. You don't you don't plan. In tennis, you can kind of plan. You can play 2, 3 steps if especially if you're good, you're consistent. You play 2, 3 steps ahead. You're planning. You're setting shots up. But in something like fighting, MMA, like I spoke to guys at black belt. I was like, how do you know like what position to go into and things like that? He's like, it's intuition. And that's the point I'm trying to make. Like, intuition gets us a long way. He's not thinking about like, oh, he's open to this area. I don't know anything about MMA, but like, I can slip my hand underneath and then I have leverage. He's just doing things that he's done before and that he thinks will end up working. Like, I went to MMA a couple times and I sparred. Some people said you have good intuition. When I was sparring, I honestly was just not thinking about like, oh, like, his arm dropped. I'm just quickly reacting and responding based on what my gut would tell me, right? So I think I'm getting my point message across. The final thing, most important thing I want to talk about, if you guys are still with me, is how irrationality is actually a bit of a blessing to humans. If you think about Napoleon, right? Napoleon's irrationality led to his failure, but it also led to his success. I mean, Napoleon was so irrationally driven that he could conquer the entirety of Europe. If he didn't have this irrational belief in himself, he wouldn't have done anything. And I mean, if he was rational, he probably would have not gone into Russia and had all his men die. And we see this with companies. When Apple first started, Steve Jobs, right, was seen as irrational. A lot of people called him an idiot. And, he started the company. He did something what nobody else could have done. He did something that was irrational, and it worked. But we see this now. The next CEO has to be a rational person, has to be a lot calmer, has to be a lot more careful about taking big leaps and jumps because the company could fail. But then the company stagnates, and then you need a new CEO who's more ambitious, who's irrational. To quote one of my friends who was telling me this, Henry Ford, I think it was like misattributed to him. It said that if I asked people what they wanted of me, um, they would have said faster horses, right? But Henry Ford just ended up making cars. People don't want to think outside the box all the time. They want to just think, rationally. They want to think just like what's immediately present to them. But you kind of have to be a bit crazy to make huge technological developments. And while I'm not a big Tate fan, I'm not a big. I don't know if you guys know Togi. This guy takes steroids and gambles. Um, these guys are very irrational. They have this irrational belief in themselves. And I say this because I've listened to some of their interviews and how they speak. They are so frustrated. They would see people who are richer than them, and they would be so frustrated with the fact that they're richer than them. Like, this guy's in a Ferrari and I'm not. And they would think that they deserve it. But this feeling isn't like rooted in anything rational. Like, I mean, these guys probably dropped out of college, or probably idiots, probably had zero money to their name, but they irrationally believe that they earned that they should have these things, and that some chump, some other guy, has it and they don't. And it's this irrationality that fuels into greatness. Now, for every 10 or 100 irrational guys, there's one or two guys who make it, right? But in order to actually truly be great, you have to be rational. I mean, look at Musk, look at Bezos. These guys had crazy ideas, and our current, what's called supply chain, or method of delivery, right? Alibaba, eBay, all these things would not be where they are today if some guy didn't have this crazy idea. So I guess what I should say is, be aware of your irrationalities to all my viewers. The one or two viewers I might get. And I really appreciate you guys watching. Please leave me a comment. Um, to my one or two viewers, be aware of your irrationalities. Um, but perhaps embrace the irrational things in you that can give you good, that can help you, that would motivate you to make the most out of this life. Because if you think about it, trying to sustain yourself in this world is an irrational thing. I mean, you are nothing really. Like, I mean, you could get struck by lightning, entropy's trying to rip your body apart. I mean, think about it. If you just go like a month without food, you're dying. You're basically dead. So it's like you yourself cannot provide for yourself, and this life is kind of shitty. It's all everything's just trying to bring you down. Yet, if you believe that you're capable of doing something, you're capable of providing for yourself, or making the next big business, even if it seems freaking crazy, go ahead and do it. I mean, who knows? You could just be the next Musk. I mean, Togi took an IQ test and had an IQ of 80. There's nothing particularly special about Andrew Tate. They just, luck. I mean, luck, hard work. But it all started with this belief. And so, I guess, I could try to, opine my views to you guys, and hope you guys did find some sort of value in it. I appreciate you guys giving me 18 minutes of your time. So, yeah, I'm going to end the video now. Thank you guys for your time. Please leave me a comment. Let me know what you guys thought. And, yeah, have a great day.